Hey, everybody, this is Dan and Angela,
Hi, everyone.
and we want to welcome you to Heart and welcome to 2024. And today we wanted to share a video with you that I think is really powerful. But I know when me and Angela talk about it a lot of times, we get a lot of controversy. People are like, and it's about how do we help get our loved ones out? And we can have a part in getting our loved ones out of the organization, despite what most people think. Now, I know that these people are in there and they're brainwashed and they really don't want nothing to do with us and we're stench to them. But there's a power within us. There's a power in the universe. There's a power that's all around us that is much greater. And Angela will attest that's much greater than their made up mind. There's a power much greater. In fact, my whole house of cards came down after 40 years because of a couple acts of kindness and love. And that's what I want to talk about today. We'll put on these other glasses. Those keep falling off. So I want to talk about this today. How do we help to get our loved ones out? What's the best practice? Because as you know, as I know, as Angela knows, we don't just go like this and they're out. You know, we know they're indoctrinated. We know they're brainwashed. But there are some best kept practices that we can do every day that's going to maybe possibly be the one little thing that pushes them over the edge and gets us out.
Yeah, because it is a dominoes type of effect.
It's a domino.
It's like when one domino falls, they all start to fall like a house of cards.
Yes. And so here's what we want to say right up front. Behind the veil, behind this veil that the witnesses have, and that veil is we have the truth, right? We have the truth and we're happy. And look at how we all love each other and we go door to door and we do all this stuff the organization says, right? But underneath it, and Angela will agree, there is starvation. There is starvation beneath the veil of their certainty, of their we have the truth. And how do we know? Because me and Angela lived it. Me and Angela lived in that starvation. And both of us are products of somebody showing us a morsel of love. I mean, nothing big. We'll tell the stories, but we have 3 stories we want to tell you. 3 stories that will convince you that 99% of the witnesses are starving for love. They are starving for love. Why are they starving for love? What's the congregation? What is it really? What is this infrastructure that they're into? I'm going to tell you, it's 2 things. One, it's a concentration camp. I'm sorry. When you're in a place where they're monitoring everything you do, right? Your talks, they're good, bad, or ugly, right? Your field service, good, bad, or ugly. Your meeting attendance, good, bad, or ugly. Your participation at it's a concentration camp. It's like people like this. It's like people going, you know, what are they doing down there? Are they starting to fight? Oh, there's somebody on the internet. There's somebody on the internet. That's her son's on the internet. Get him off the internet. This is what Watchtower has become, a concentration camp, right? And the other thing is, where's the paradise? As we talked about before in the Kingdom Hall, it was paradise, right? It was the Armageddon, and then boom, Jehovah's going to come in. Now they're talking about going off into FEMA camps. Truthfully, look at the last assembly, the whole back of the assembly, the last part of the assembly was the witnesses fleeing to concentration camps.
Yeah, not paradise.
Yes. Where did we learn that? Where did we hear before we were going to end up in a concentration camp?
Yeah, this is a new thing.
Jehovah's going to wipe them out when we stop preaching. Remember?
Right. Yes.
It was like putting a finger in Jehovah's eyeball and they will by no means escape.
Right.
And so they did escape. And so there's concentration camps, there's monitoring, there's watching, there's fear. Don't you try to leave. Don't you try to leave. There's gunmen, right? I mean, in a sense, I'm not talking about literal gunmen, but they're like that, right?
Right.
You try to leave. I mean, listen to Tony Morris, you know, you better get back out in service. You're going to be drenching with blood. I mean, these guys are using fear to the highest level. So the point that I'm making is that underneath this veil, this wonderful veil and these suit coats and ties and is dead man's bones. Underneath this thing is people that are starving for love. The organization is not made up of love. The organization is made up of duty. Do this, do this, do this, and Jehovah might be happy, right? What's that scripture say? Seek righteousness, seek meekness, and you might be concealed in the day of Jehovah's anger, because he's angry, pissed off, and jealous, right? And so Inside, it's a concentration camp. And the other thing that it is, as far as I am concerned, it's a mental ward. Why is it a mental ward? It's a mental ward because they have people, the governing body, playing with the people's heads, right? They're telling them, well, we didn't say 75 happened. Never said that. Those brothers were unfaithful and they left, and we don't know why. And shame on them. But Jehovah's cleaning out his organization. Aren't you glad, brothers? And everybody goes, oh, well, yeah, I guess. Shit, I was cleaning out my stuff too. And I was just letting everything go because I thought 75 would be all over.
And when did that? Yeah, that happened way back when. It's happening now.
Yeah.
We had an elder say to us at the convention, same thing. No, that didn't happen. No, that's not, and he lied about everything we brought up. The reason why Dan is not attending anymore, what he saw wrong. Oh, no, that's not true.
We don't
Lie,
disfellowship
lie,
people like that.
lie.
We don't do that.
That's
They're
what I
free to
said.
roam. They can come back within 30 days. They can be fully established. Oh, really? Is that true? How about you're lying? And who taught you to lie like this?
Oh,
it was
geez.
crazy, wasn't
It
it?
was really crazy.
But-
An
but I-
elder.
Yeah, but what I'm thinking, what do you do when you're in an organization and you've been told 75 is going to be all over? Then you're told, well, right after that, Jehovah gave us new light, and the generation, there's this one generation in Matthew that says this generation will by no means pass away until all these things occur, including the great tribulation. So we were all jumping up and down, Revelation book, Paradise book, reading them over and over. And then we get past the generation and they invite us back to new dogma.
And guys, I was from Worldwide Church of God. We had the same
Same
exact
thing.
In 1975, right around that time was the end. We had a Revelation book. It was read. A lot of the same things, and fear of the end. Well, great. The kingdom of God is coming on earth,
Yes.
and it never happened. Date passed. No one apologized. We just
Nobody
went on.
cares.
No.
And guess what the people look like in there? The people look like they just wander around. I'm telling you, they're hopeless, they're empty, they're angry because the end didn't come. This is in her religion.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've
Yeah.
seen it with her
Yeah.
brother. I've seen it with her mother.
Yeah.
They're looking up like, God, where is you?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
said it was going to be over. You said you were coming back. There's going to be 2 witnesses
Just
and all this weird stuff they have in there.
just the other day, a guy that Dan and I feel is like one of the most, close to God people that we've ever known. And he said to us, well, here we are. And I'm just waiting for the end. I'm just waiting for Jesus to come back. Waiting, living at his daughter's, waiting. I mean,
And here their own gospel said, Jesus said, I came so you could have life and have it more fully. But
we're like, no,
not
no.
again, not waiting again,
Not
not sitting
you.
back. So the reason I was bringing this up and the reason I was saying this about the mental word, light is dark, dark is light, it's dark, it's dark, it's light, it's more light, but yet the light went out, and it goes back forth and you got crazy.
That'll make you go crazy.
Stephen Lett. We're in the last days, and it's like they've run out of prophecies. They've literally run out. Now they're saying you can wear beards, you can do this, you can do that, no time no more, don't worry about it. We're shrinking the meetings. Hey, you're free, man. It's like they're doing everything they can because
that's also going to mess up your brain, Dan. It's going to
Yes,
be mental.
that's what I mean.
One person killed himself just recently, right after the beard thing changed.
Oh,
he
geez.
committed suicide. He said, I can't take these changes anymore. So they are guilty, blood guilty
Yes.
of a man who murdered himself because he can't take all these changes anymore.
Yes.
Who else is like this, ready to kill himself? Just saying.
Yes.
But what do you need? What do we need, Dan?
That's right. So that made up mind really isn't that made up, right? Don't you think now there's questions? Like, what do you mean? We can wear a beard. Like Jehovah just decided just last night, Jehovah was up there and he goes, I think we got to move up with the times. I think we got to get in tune with the times. They had beards in the old day. This is Jehovah now, right? Because they hear Jehovah's voice, right? And then they put it in the watchtower. So Jehovah says, governing body, yeah, tell them it's okay. Tell them it's all right. Tell them also, the time. They don't have to turn in any time. Just, this is all crazy. I don't know why I ever had them under that regime anyway of turning in time. And
when more so as time draws near.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forget that. Just
Just forget all that.
Oh,
So that mind that's sitting there like this, like the witnesses, we have the truth and God's name's Jehovah and we don't believe in a Trinity and we don't celebrate Christmas and we don't take blood transfusions.
And we're preaching more so as the time draws near.
And besides, there's millions and millions and millions and millions of people that are coming back right now. You just can't see them. That's what they're doing. That's the crazy stuff they're doing. So I think right now is the prime time to implement what we're about to share with you. this thing that can take down a whole house of cards. They took Angela's house down. They took my house down, and we practiced it with somebody. And that's the first story I'm going to tell you.
And we've had stories that more than that have been changed.
We've had lots of stories like this, but we're going to tell you 3 short stories. Hopefully we don't go on and on. But I want to tell you about a story where we walked into a spiritual facility, and the people there knew us. They knew that we were former Jehovah's Witnesses and former Worldwide Church of God, right? So we walked in, and this lady just says, who are they? And she goes, that's them over there. And some lady made a beeline, right? It was a lady. And she says, I need to talk to you. I'm desperate. I need to talk to you. And my husband's very angry. And I said, what's going on? And she said, well, my daughter started studying with this wonderful man. And he came over, and they were having this beautiful study. And I thought, oh my God, it's so wonderful and beautiful. And then all of a sudden, my daughter disappears. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want anything to do with Christmas. I don't want anything to do with birthdays. And she's like, oh my God. So the dad's going, what on earth? His head's spinning around, right? He's angry. He's pissed. Now he was a fundamentalist Christian, right? So he came at it. So anyway, we met for coffee, right?
Right.
We decided, we said, okay, we need a little while to talk about this. We need to sit down, and you need to understand.
And they were visiting from out of town.
Yes, they were from Florida or something.
They left the next morning.
And we said, well, part of the thing you've got to understand is the brainwashing technique. What is it all about? How do they hook them so bad? Where do they hook them? How do they hook them? You got to understand that. So we basically told them they hook them with Jehovah's name. They say, you've never met God, right? Did you know his name was Jehovah, right? Psalms 83:18. And they read that scripture, and they said, well, you can have a wonderful, beautiful relationship with God who you never knew if you'd only know his name and call him by name, and then you could communicate with him, right? And so they pull him in there. Then they, show him he's not a Trinity in there. So anyway.
That makes you different.
Yes. So when they bring him in, you say, well, that makes sense. Jesus isn't God. He sits at the right hand of God. I came here to do God's will. I'm the Son of God, right? I do nothing of my own initiative, only by my Father. And so this kid tells him all this, right? Tells the girl all this. And he goes, see, Jesus is not a Trinity. And Jehovah's God. And this is his son. They got her, right? There's the hooks. They got her. Then they say, look, here's another beautiful thing. Tomorrow's paradise. Tomorrow, all this is over. Here's the signs, right? And they read Matthew, nation rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, food short, and they go on. And then the great tribulation. Don't you see all these happening in one generation of 70 or 80 years? Don't you see that's happening now?
Agree?
Do you agree?
Yeah,
right.
Okay, you do agree. That's
yes.
part of the hooking.
And you go, yes. And so then they say, but Jehovah has some regulations. And you go, okay. And then they read John 17:3, right? This means everlasting knowledge. This means everlasting life. They're taking in knowledge of the only true God and the one who you sent for, Jesus Christ. And so they say we need to have a Bible study so we can share this life-giving knowledge. This means everlasting life in the paradise earth, right? Right around the corner. So the next thing you know, they got her, and they're like, okay, see, it says right here, there was a birthday in the Bible where somebody got beheaded. They asked for the head of John the Baptist, better is a day's death than his birth. You know what I mean? And all this kind of stuff, right? Better was what Jesus died for than what Jesus was born. We don't celebrate he was born. We celebrate he died for us.
Even though God had the angels celebrate and bring
Good
the
point.
shepherds to the place of Jesus'
Great
birth
point.
with great, singing
Bringing
and
gifts,
rejoicing.
myrrh, and happiness,
Right.
And so
Crazy.
And so they got her. So he's like, you understand you can't celebrate birthdays. You understand you can't celebrate the holidays. You can't take blood. We don't salute the flag. We don't get involved in war. We don't kill. And some of those are good things, right? And so anyway, they got her. So they don't understand any of this. And this man was hell-bent on, he was going to preach to him, tell him about Jesus, right? And we said, don't do that. Don't do that. Her mind is already made up, right? She saw it in the word,
and
right?
He was livid about this.
He was livid. He couldn't even think straight. His eyes were glossed over. He was freaking out. Like, I'm so pissed off. How could I have not seen this?
Mm-hmm.
But the way he was going to go about it was he was going to reason with a person who had a made-up mind. Remember, we said, do you believe the Bible's unequivocally the word of God, right? We said, yes, we believe it's unequivocally. Well, here's God's name. Now, how can you look back at your family and say God's name's Jesus? You can't. God's name's Jehovah and his son's Jesus. So they got her hooked. So he doesn't know what to do. He can't think straight. He's in a deal. So we kind of dismissed him, didn't we? And got with his wife, didn't we? Is that what happened?
He just kept on listening with trying really hard to open up his heart and mind to comprehend what we were saying.
With tears, with
and
frustration.
And so he just kept listening, feeling defeated. But his wife, though, is a different story.
Yes.
She soaked it in and listened intently on what we subscribed to be the only path.
Which was the thing that got me and Angela out.
Yes. And it ended up working, this whole thing.
And it worked. But what we told her was, she says, like, what should I do? And we said, first thing we told him to do is make him his best pan of cookies.
Right.
Remember?
Right.
She said, cookies. How is that going to help?
Meals, even.
Meals.
Have them over.
His favorite meal, cookies. Love. Hug him.
Smile.
Tell him you love him. Because here's what's happening. Listen to what I'm saying here. This is powerful. This has got me and Angela, a house of 40 years dropped because someone did this to me. A house of 20 years dropped because someone did this to Angela. This is powerful. This is powerful. We're all frustrated. Our relatives are in there, right? They're still being manhandled. They're still being manipulated. They're still being watched. They're being scared to death. We're watching them. Schizophrenia, breakdown. What's the other one called that they come back from war?
Oh, PTSD.
PTSD. We're seeing it all. Fibromyalgia, alcoholism, all these things are going on, and they're big time, drowning themselves, right? And so anyway, so we tell this lady, make some cookies, give them love, give them hugs. Do not reason with them. You have to bypass the made-up mind, right? The made-up mind says, I just saw it for myself. It was in my Bible, and it was in the King James Bible, that God's name alone is Jehovah. You're never going to convince them that's not God's name. It's over. That's a program now, right? And then, this is Jehovah's Organization's another story. And, he's not a Trinity. So they got the hooks in. Those are hooks, they call them, right? And so me and Angela come across with this lady, and she's like, are you kidding me? Like make them cookies, make them food, make them love them, and all this stuff,
Hug
right?
them, smile
Hug at them.
Love unconditionally with no strings attached. Don't shove your
Don't
beliefs.
preach.
Don't preach whatever you do. They're not going to listen. They're just going to shove them farther away. And we just kept saying it over and over again. This is how you've got to do it. Try to help them understand what's going on here and how come this worked for us. So
yes,
we should tell our stories.
Yeah, let me just say this. I want to say this too. At the soul level of who we are love. We're made in God's image and likeness. We love to love, don't we? Don't we love to cook for people? Don't we love to surprise them? Don't we love to give people some money sometimes? Don't we like to give people a ride, shop, whatever? We like to surprise people. We're made of this love. So me and Angela were telling these people that you have to work at that level, not at the head level, not at the eye for an eye, this reasoning and arguing and dogma and dog fights, I call it. It's just dog fights. You don't get anywhere telling people to believe in Jesus or believe in whatever. It's just dog fights. It's mind for mind over mind. It never ends. There's a million scriptures that say every knee should bend to Jesus. There's a million scriptures that says, Yahweh, is the true Lord. He's God, and it goes on and on. You'll never win. And so we told the lady that you want to speak to the soul that's starving under tyranny. The watchtower is tyranny, guys. The governing body is tyranny. They tell you that. They say, you better listen to us like your life depends on it, because it does. Stephen Letts said that. You're going to be bloody. Aren't you glad they're all dead when they're all dead out there? See, so they're under the tyranny of fear of their own genocide, of their own death. They are under death threats. They are under,
because again, you might be concealed in the day of Jehovah's anger. So everybody knows that they're not measuring up. Everybody knows that they're not. So everyone's fearing. Everyone. It probably
you can't do enough, right?
Actors, right. And so you've got to bypass the made up mind. It's got to be bypassed. And there's only one way, because they have a made up solid mind. If you bring up anything at the door,
there's no room for anything else.
If me being the homeowner or the home person, that they came to my home and they knock on the door and they start saying things. And I say, well, let me show you in the scripture where it says this. What do? They don't listen to you. They don't look. If you think you're planting seeds, oh no, it's going in one ear and out the other as fast as they can. And they say, we'll get back to you on that. We'll look that up in scripture and we'll talk about that another time. Okay, let me show you this. And they'll go on to another thing and another thing. They do not want, and they do not allow you to express your opinions and your ideas because they're just plain wrong. They have the truth and you don't. Where they're trying to save you from being in the destruction of Jehovah that's soon to come, and to get you in the paradise. So they're not going to have anything to do with what you say. They're going to shut you off as soon as they can. So why even go down that road? You don't want to go down that road. It shuts them off.
Right.
It pushes them away.
Right.
You can't come at them this way.
Right. If you talk to somebody who's been a fundamentalist Christian for 2 years, and you try to reason with them, Jesus is God. I mean, Jesus is, they have their programming, right? And we had ours. So what Angela said is right. We have to start appealing to another part of them that's just as real, and it's the soul that knows the truth. We're going to start speaking through the soul, through lovingness. Jesus said, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. So we're going to love them despite their wretchedness toward us, despite their hatred, despite their self-righteousness. The Pharisees were that way, right? They were self-righteous. And don't you see we have the outfits? Don't you see we have the letter right here, the word? Don't you see we have that? Don't you? And Jesus, like, the letter kills. You guys are dead man's bone and you don't have any love in you, right? And so anyway, we tell this lady, start loving them, right? And so she did. She said, she called us, right? And she says, hey, I did what you said. I made him a big thing of cookies, right? And I had him over for a wonderful dinner. And we didn't call it a Christmas dinner. We didn't do anything.
That was the other thing we suggested. Have an outside meal the day before, several days after, for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And that way he's not uncomfortable. And he feels a part.
Yes.
And sneak him a gift by just giving him something that you thought he might like when you were at the Costco the other day. Don't wrap it. Just give it to him.
Yes.
Just show love, unconditional love, not judgment.
That's right.
I got the truth and you don't.
That's right. And what I want to say right up front is I know this is a new case. I know this is somebody who just came into the witnesses, and we snatched them from the fire.
It was actually the daughter.
The daughter, yes, the daughter.
Yeah, the daughter.
And so we know this is, not the typical where people get indoctrinated and they're gone forever, which that has to run its course many times, has to run its course,
but he'd
right?
been in a long time, and she was kind of more newer.
Yes.
And then we managed, because of this advice, that the woman snatched your daughter back and this boy. And so, and he'd been in a long time.
Yeah. So what happens was we told him to start doing this. So there were several incidences. So they made this food and it was a good thing. She called us and says, oh my God. She said he kept hugging me. She kept giving me these hugs, like Angela gives these hugs that say, I love you. To him. She gave him these hugs. She goes, I love you. And her husband.
I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, and I know her husband's like, what? This is foolishness. You don't love them out. You beat them on the head, say, don't you steal my daughter, right?
Yeah, you should prove to them by scripture that they're wrong.
But the husband took a back seat. He pushed down all that stuff in him, all that mind stuff that
at least didn't beat him up.
He didn't beat him up. And then he did something really great. I don't know if Andrew remembers.
No.
You do. But basically, they had these dinners. There was all this love. She says he's reciprocating. Then they left their Bibles at the house. You remember?
The kids did.
They left their Bibles. She goes, they're not even carrying. They've been here for weeks. And she's like, oh my God, could this really be working?
Yeah, I was like, we don't want these stupid things anymore. And they didn't know what to do. So they just accidentally, oopsie, left them at mom and dad's house. Right?
Yes. And she goes, don't they need their Bibles? I said, oh yeah, they take them to the meeting, blah, blah, blah. And
they must be fading.
And this was what, a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
But anyway, she's like, they must be fading or something. So anyway, the Jehovah's Witness got in some financial trouble. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And the husband writes a thing. I think it was around Christmas time.
Right. I forgot about
and he
this
wrote him a
part.
check, and I think it was like $1,500.
Yeah, it was a big
and
amount.
he didn't put. And we told him, do not put Merry Christmas or God bless you or anything.
No.
Just say I love you and we want to support you and blah blah blah. Right?
Yeah.
That was it,
That was,
guys.
he melted.
That was
He
it.
melted.
So what was it? A year later, the lady came over?
Yeah, we saw a picture. Yeah, she came over to our house.
She came over to our house. She says, "Can I come to your house this time?" And we're like, "Yeah."
She came by herself to Idaho this time.
Yep. She flew out here and she says, "I want a meeting with you guys." And she said, "You know what? It worked. It worked. We got beneath. We got to that hunger, that part of them that was starving for love." And she said, "All I did was give them love. All I did was
Hugs and
hugs."
compliments and, you know,
Yes.
good meals and
Good
movie, a
meals.
nice movie at the house with popcorn, everything that they
No
could think,
religion, no
and then
preaching.
the opportunity to give the money, and
Yes.
it was just melting
It
because,
was over.
yeah, because I mean, here that I'm sure the daughter probably let it be known that my parents are so disappointed that I'm, not able to celebrate Christmas and blah, 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 blah. But yet, what do they see? They saw just unconditional love, regardless of whether it was convenient for them or not.
That's right.
It's huge. And guess what? It was practically identical with Dan and I's stories.
Yes. And so House of Cards gone down. Witness had been in a long time. His mind said, "What in the hell is this? What is this? How could they love me? I'm a Jehovah's Witness. I don't like what they do. But somehow that love spoke not to hear. This is totally edging everybody out, right? It's belief systems that are totally infrastructures now that edge everything out. So anyway, that love penetrated him, melted him down, consumed him, consumed his wife. They
I
both
imagine
got out.
he probably compared his own parents with these parents. Don't you
Yes.
suppose?
Oh, everything. Because you don't get the love in there. It's all,
No.
are you doing this?
Exactly.
Did you go out last week? How long did you go out?
Yep.
Did you pioneer? We had 5 weeks that month. Did you
Yeah.
pioneer? It's like driven. It's like being whipped, right? And so now, Angela, do you want to tell your story
Sure.
next? So
Yeah, I'll tell you my
Angela's going to
story.
tell a story. Now I just want to say this about this story. You guys are going to say, yeah. That's a guy that the girl just got in and you're able to snatch her out. But now let's talk about 20
Yeah.
years, Angela, in a very similar.
Because here's the thing, guys, what you don't realize about the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Worldwide Church of God people is that they are, please hear us, starving for love.
Yeah.
Because you know why? What they don't know is that they don't even know what that is. They haven't experienced it for real. And what they've experienced was conditional love their whole
There
life.
you go.
And
Yes.
so all of a sudden you experience this unconditional love, which is the story I'm about ready to tell you. And you're like, what is this? So let me tell you what
Okay, so
happened.
that's one down, one guy out, and his girlfriend. They came out, they haven't returned.
Yep.
Success story. So let's hear Angela's story.
So my story is that I was raised Worldwide Church of God. Same thing, no birthdays, no Christmas, no Halloween, no Easter, none of it. And so my ex was, what he said was, okay, Angela, I know you say you can't date me anymore. We've been dating a few weeks because I'm not your religion. And but tell you what, I can give up birthdays, Christmas, all of it. And I'm like, really? You willing to give it up? Because I'm saying I can't date you anymore. And I'm like, are you serious? And he goes, oh yeah. So sure
Isn't that
enough,
cool to know that there's another religion that don't celebrate birthdays, that don't celebrate Christmas,
yeah. And he'd always loved all these holidays, especially Halloween. Yeah, especially Halloween. So anyway, he was willing to give it all up. So I was thrilled because we had a lot in common. Music, yeah. And we like to do lots of fun things all the time, the same kind of fun things. And anyway, it was really cool. And I went to counseling it with my church and the whole thing. And then we got married after just 6 months of knowing each other. And then that was August. And then come December, what's happening? He's going to his parents' house and dragging me there against my will. I did not want to go, but I was so codependent and wanted to be pleasing. I was raised to be pleasing that I was just furious. Because to me, I was raised, if you see lights, you say abomination, and everything.
Christmas lights. If you see lights, beautiful lights.
Right. So here I am at his parents' house, and it got abomination everywhere, right? And
lights, Christmas trees, everything.
And yeah, the Christmas tree, everything.
All works.
I'm furious. And so I'm in a bad mood. Crabby as Angela can be crabby, and being a young, codependent, 21-year-old wife. So the next year comes around, I'm pregnant as could be. I'm 9 months pregnant, and we have Christmas again and again. I'm just so mad. And I just can't begin to tell you. I'm sure that they feel it. It's tangible. So my mother-in-law says, Angela, come here, honey, come in the bathroom for a minute. I want to show you something. So I go in there. She's so being so nice. She's been so nice the whole time, in spite of me. I go in the bathroom. She takes down a bottle of Charlie perfume. She says, here you go, honey. I'm like, and she says, oh, no, 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 no. It's not a Christmas present. We just want you to know that we love you. And we're so glad you're in our family. And I'm like, what? What? I've just ruined 2 Christmases in a row. It's almost over the end of this day. And you're loving me?
How did you ruin their Christmas?
Because I was a crab butt.
You're angry.
Angry. You know, I'm just, I don't want to be there, and I don't participate, and I don't want to be there. And it's like, why are you being nice to me? I don't deserve this. And I'm like, what is this? And all of a sudden, this thought, as big as life, comes into my soul. I don't know how else to describe it. But the thought was, this is the love of God. And I thought, yeah, that's what it is. Yes, that's what it is. And I'm like, that's really weird. I've never seen such a thing. And I just tucked that little amazing moment in my heart. And I took it home with me that day. And it was the beginning of the house of cards falling down. It was a series of events that happened after that that caused the actual house to fall. But that was the beginning of the fall. Because
one little kindness.
And I said this to myself. I said this, maybe I said it to God, but I'm like, oh, yeah, I did. I said it to God. I said out loud, I said, God, what are you doing in an Episcopalian woman? Because she was Episcopalian. It's like, because it was obvious it was God's love. And I'd never seen that before. But why an Episcopalian? You might as well be Catholic. That's how I looked at it in that day. And so I just was like, it doesn't make sense to me. But nevertheless, this is the love of God. And I tucked it away. I'd never seen it before. And so, because in my church and in Jehovah's Witness too, so many churches really, you're loved if you obey, if you follow the rules, if you follow the guidelines.
Yep.
And if you get out of line and you don't do exactly right, you're not acceptable. So it's performance-based love. It's not unconditional. It's very conditional. And so that's what Jehovah's Witness and Worldwiders and who knows what other religions have experienced, is a very conditional love.
Yes.
And so when you're loved unconditionally, regardless of the fact that I'm in to her, a complete cult, and she loves me anyway, in spite of it, that's the real love of God. And I couldn't mistake it.
So I just want to say, so when, it's easy to see. So she was offered a bottle of perfume, the lady said,
and unconditional love.
And unconditional love. Just, I know you're angry,
You think I didn't want a present?
I just want a Charlie perfume, really, that's like nice stuff.
Yeah.
For a bitch, for someone who's being terrible and fussy and snappy, right?
Why would they want me in their family?
Yeah, I just want to give this to you because I love you. So
You're
what did that do?
Love for no reason.
Now this was like nothing, right? A lifetime of brainwashing, a little morsel of love.
Maybe I realized in my soul that was also God's love.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, love isn't from this world, right?
No.
That's why Jesus said you'll know them by their fruit, because the fruit is what love, joy, peace, kindness, good. So it comes from the heavenly realms. So Jesus said you'd know my people by the love, right?
Mm.
And so this lady comes to her, and here's the love, right?
Yeah.
But what did love do? Love messed with her head. It destroyed her.
Yeah.
It destroyed all this blah, 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 we have up here. And literally, guys, it moved a mountain. Love moved a mountain of belief systems that were wrong. And love moved a bunch of belief systems in me that were wrong. So now like Angela said, that was the beginning of many dominoes falling. She took that love and she went, wow, that was not of this world. What is that? I love that. I love that love. I love this feeling. That felt so good.
And that woman loves me to this day.
She loves Angela.
Even though I am divorced from that man, and that she even warned me to you need to move on and forget all of that. She said,
remember
move
that.
on. And I thought, what? What are you talking about? What do you mean move on and forget about all of us? Because she was caring more for my safety, my soul, and the fact that she knew that things were not going right. So she just gracefully let me know, basically, things are not good here. This is maybe not safe, and you need to move on, my dear precious daughter that I love and I will never stop loving. And she's still to this day so happy for me. Yeah. And I even went and saw her with Dan.
Yeah.
She was so loving and so
kind.
kind.
Loving.
And
Angela thanked her, and
she's
she
a
just
good
said, it's
woman.
too late. Your husband's tied up. He's
Yes,
consumed with other
yeah,
things.
gotta
Move on, Angela. Move on. Now, wasn't that a loving thing to do?
Yeah,
And with her own son, she said that.
Yeah,
Angela, move on.
yeah.
You know,
We
wow.
love you, but you need to get safer.
So another voice of love. See, I love you still, even though you're going to leave my son. You know, I still love you. Move on, Angela. Get on with your life and find
Yeah,
you a good man, right?
Right.
And so Angela's free, guys. That's number two. Number two, 20 years of dogma, this much love, collapsed her whole belief system partially, right? It put I would say it was the beginning of the end. It was like shooting a spear in something, you know. It was like, it's the end. It's going to take you a little while to die, but it's like, you know, you're bleeding out, right? And so that spear of love started to bleed her out. It just worked on her and worked on her and worked on her. And I'm saying, guys, this is the power. This is the power of love that me and Angela have said many times, that can bypass a brainwashed mind, guys. It can bypass it. We've seen it, a made-up mind, yes. And so,
tell your story.
yeah, my story was, you guys know, I was born in, I didn't get baptized till I was like 20 some years old, right? And I was kind of in and out, you know, all over the place, you know, worldly, you know, couldn't play any sports, couldn't do any of that stuff. And then I got baptized and got serious. I got married, divorced, and then baptized. And man, I'm going to be a ministerial servant. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. So it was the same thing, guys. I had these little morsels of love that just broke me in two. And one was my grandmother. I thought about my grandmother. She wasn't a witness. She was like a Pentecostal religion. And every couple of years, she gave my dad a new car.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I thought, you know, man, Grandma, you know, we're witnesses. My dad wouldn't even let us go over there. My dad's like, you know, if you go to Grandma's, bring a watchtower. You better go over there. Don't go over there and let her talk any religion to you, you know, and all that stuff, right? But I kind of love my grandma. But at Christmas time, this is when we were young. At Christmas time, my grandma would say, do you want a pair of skates or do you want a sled? Every Christmas, right? And so instead of us, we would go down to the neighbors, right? And they'd have their big Christmas tree and all these presents. So I'd go over to my friend's house and he'd just tear open present after present, baseball gloves, you know.
Didn't like any of them.
Yeah.
Pretended not to anyway.
Yeah. But one guy had like baseball gloves and bats. And his dad bought him a new aluminum bat. And I was like, wow. And then he got the normal socks and underwear and shirts and T-shirts. But I just said, man, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with somebody getting, you know, some gifts? Well, my grandma, so we wouldn't feel bad, my grandmother would say, do you guys want a pair of skates? And so we'd get a skates and they go, well, what'd you get for Christmas? I said, well, you know, we don't celebrate, but my grandma got us some skates and my grandma made us some cookies and my grandma's bought us some new clothes, you know? And so that, like Angela said, was tucked away. You know, why did my grandma have and my dad didn't have? You know, why was my grandma so generous with money? She helped so many people with her money. She helped relatives that were going through tough times, and she was always stuffing envelopes full of money and helping them. She had the love of God. So anyway, I stuck that away in my mind and I thought, wow, that was powerful, you know? And then one of the things that happened as I was starting to get questions and doubts, you know, about the prophecies and about the end prophecies, I started getting, you know, these doubts. And I said, I was going to a door one day, and I know I've told you the story, but I'll tell you again. I was going to this door, and it was this rich house. You know, we parked our car on the road because it was leaking oil.
I always imagine you went up some steps.
Yeah, it was like that. It was a hill. It was kind of like this, and then we went up the steps, and we left the car on the road because it was leaking oil, and we were just embarrassed. This was like a gated community, right? And so we knocked on the door, and these double doors opened. I don't know why this light keeps going in and out. But anyway, these double doors opened, and beautiful home, table, big long table, wood floors all the way back, glass in the back of the house. And I go, wow, look at this estate. Wow. Well, I'm looking at the lady, and she was there beaming from ear to ear. She just was like smiling, like, hi, how are you doing today? And I said, well, we're doing good. We have some good news. The world's going to end today, and you're going to lose everything, right? That was my good news, right? Well, I went to
destroyed any day.
Yeah, you're going to be destroyed any day. Isn't that wonderful news that, you know, we're going to live, us and our junk out in the road, and you're going to be destroyed, and we might even occupy your house. We didn't say that. I'm just kidding.
But they thought it.
Yeah, we thought it. So I go to the door, And this lady smiled at me, and right away I thought, Jehovah, really? I mean, God Almighty, look at this family. There's 3 kids. I look down, and there's 3 kids, and they're beaming. They're beaming
And
with
the
beer.
house smells good.
It
and
looks good. It
clean.
smells good. It's
Looks
clean,
rich.
organized. It looks like they have money. It looks like maybe some of their kids went to college. It just had that beautiful estate feeling. And I thought, who are these people? I don't know if you guys have ever thought that. Who are all these people out here? Who are all these crazy people driving around nice cars, living in nice homes, educated, you know? And so I go to the door and I look down, and there's these 3 little kids. And she goes, give them their like gift, give them their,
Dollar
their
bill.
dollar bill. And so I look down, and they reach in their thing, and they all 3 put up a dollar bill.
They got their little dresses on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
mannerly.
And my
smiling.
mouth dropped, and I went, like this. And I go, Jehovah, really? Really? This is what I said, guys. I said, you're going to kill these people? Any day you're going to kill these people. I don't get it. So they gave us the dollars. And I said, well, thank you. That was really nice of you. And I go on my magazines to get the genocide watchtower awake, that says extermination to all who aren't Nazis, right? Who aren't all, not witnesses, right? And so anyway, I go to give them to him, and the mother goes, no, 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 no. You go ahead and keep those and give them to somebody else who really needs them. But thank you for coming by. Just thank you for being nice people. And I go, holy crap. Holy crap. Now, when you think about it, guys, now that changed me forever. I literally went in the car, and I literally threw the magazines. I literally threw them. I was on the back seat of the presiding overseer in the back of his what do you call it, station wagon, and I threw them. My wife was next to me, and I just went, throw. And it was because of that love. It was because, why, Jehovah? Why are you going to kill these people? Why? Just because they don't know your name, really?
You said, this is not good news.
I said, this is not good news. And I threw them, and then I snapped out of it. I snapped out of it, and my head kicked back in gear, right? The programming kicked back in gear. Pick up that magazine. Those are right from Jehovah's own hand. Grab those magazines. What are you
Jehovah's
thinking?
utensils.
Yeah, they're Jehovah's utensils. And I looked at my wife, which was Angelia at the time.
Oh, God.
And I thought, oh my God. And I said, oh, sorry about that. I don't know what happened to me. But like Angela said, that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
It was a morsel, guys, that morsel of love. That's why the Bible says, love them anyway. That's why Jesus said, Father, forgive them. My grandma was loving me. That's what I said. I tucked away.
Right.
I tucked away those skates that she says, well, I'm going to have to
and
give these to Dan. And
the divinity that she'd bring over after Christmas.
Yeah, the sea foam, we called it, divinity. She would have boxes, but she would work around the holidays. She'd go, well, it's Christmas. I'll give them right after Christmas, or I'll give them, a couple days after the New Year. And here'd she come with his skates. But we were like, oh, Grandma, thank you. You just saved us from, having to lie to the neighbors and, say, well, we didn't get shit. We just, we got a kick in the ass and told we weren't making enough meetings, right? And so anyway, long story short, I tucked that away. And when those girls did that, when they gave us that dollar, that broke my heart and changed my mind.
And not just the little girls, but their mom, because she was so loving too.
The house, the organization.
Yes, it's
how
godly,
can you take
godly
something
order.
so good, something so pure, even though it's not what I'm accustomed to, which is, the Kingdom Hall and meetings. And how can you take something pure and beautiful and children and think that they're going to be genocided any day?
Yeah, and not just that, but you guys are driving up in a old van that was leaking oil in a fancy neighborhood, and you're wearing polyester suits on a summer day and too long of sleeves, and you're going up to the door, and they're immaculate, godly order, godly love, and you're full of judgment.
Yeah.
And you're out of order. It's like your soul knows that something's wrong.
Yeah. I had beautiful ties. I had silk ties from Macy's, and I had shirts that didn't fit. My shirts had rings around the collars, my sleeves, like Angela said, were too long. Yeah, I didn't know, I mean, I know there's witnesses that know about good fitting suits and stuff. And I tried to get into suits that fit, Kuppenheimer suits. Kuppenheimer was big back then. But anyway, we had the suits with the vest, with the, I didn't know about wool suits or things that would breathe, like Angela said, I had polyester. When I put on a polyester suit and went out door to door in Houston with 98% humidity, I was like wringing my shirts out, you know what I mean? And so, but anyway,
That lady loved him
That
unconditionally.
lady loved me unconditionally. The kids were so wonderful. I said, no, no, there's no way. No, Jehovah, you'd have to be a monster. You'd have to be a monster to kill babies like this. You,
If they would have insisted that you take their cookies or a box of, candy that they made, or, you know what I mean? Them knowing that Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate the holidays and whatnot. Can you imagine, Dan,
yeah,
what that would do? You guys, it's endless, the kindnesses that you can do that melt these people. Love is the only way to get past their minds, their
it
made
is.
up minds.
So I
Don't
would,
bother preaching.
no, and I would say, try this, try it. I'm not saying it's going to work with your relatives and just love them. They're going to tell you, no,
But it's
you're,
the only way.
yeah, you're poison and you need to be exterminated, because they're still under Watchtower dogma, right? But when you see a witness, like say a witness comes to your door, go get him a cookie. Would you like something to drink? Would you want a cookie and something to drink?
You
How are
don't
you
even have to
doing that?
invite them in.
You don't
if
even have to
want
invite them in.
Just
Say you must be cold. You want to, you could say, do you want to step in? But I remember people did that with us. You guys are cold. Come on in here. Come on in. And sometimes they put us in front of a fireplace or, but just those little things. Remember, guys, it wasn't much. It was a little bottle of Charlie perfume. It was three little
Little
$1 bills with
bills.
3 cute women and a wonderful, loving mother. It was my grandma
grandmother.
saying, hey, I got a sled for you, or I got a box of divinity. It was the same thing that happened with the very first story when the lady says, I'm going to make him. She called us and said, I made him his favorite meal and he couldn't believe it. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
She said, I couldn't believe it. She goes, he just ate it up and loved it. And he hugged me and he hugged me. She says, all I do is hug him. She says, every time I see him, I hug him.
Because he's starving to death.
He's starving.
You don't, as a witness, as a worldwide, you don't even know what you're starving of.
That's
So
right.
when you start
Good
to
point.
get this surprise of a love that you didn't ever know what it was, you never experienced it like that. And then it's like, this is so different.
I think you just said something really, really powerful. Surprise them with love.
Crazy.
Instead of arguing, tell them about your new faith or your new spiritual tradition or surprise them with love. Love can move a mountain. Love is the most powerful alchemy in the world.
Yes.
Jesus said, love them anyway. My Father said, love God, love the Father, and love your neighbor. Every neighbor, every man, woman, and child, every plant, animal, everything. Love everything as you love yourself. Forget about religiosity. Forget about your differences.
And the more you love yourself, you're going to love the people more and more and more, and be able to be more unconditional loving, even to people that you think are absolutely, they're a really wrong way in their way of looking at it. You will be able to love them unconditionally with
Yes.
no qualms at all.
So what would happen if we started feeding them love? What if we start feeding them love? What if we did little kindnesses, a little card that says, I was just thinking about you and I think you're wonderful and amazing. I love you.
Yeah.
Little bitty things. It like we've said all through this, there was no big thing. There was no big reasoning. There was no big aha moment, where you sold them on a religion. You know what I mean? Not that you can't do that too, if you feel so inclined. But we're just saying, in this particular case, we saw the hunger. We both hungered. I was starving. Angela was starving. And these people were starving. Even this guy, he couldn't win. This lady latched on to that understanding. And she says, I'm going to love the witness. I'm going to love that JW Bible right out of his mind. And she did.
Let me tell you how strong this is. Okay, so when I was 13 years old, I went to visit my uncle. And actually, I didn't visit him. I was traveled in his Winnebago all the way from California to Florida to babysit his kids for the summer. And, I met so he was Mormon and I was worldwide. And so I had to go to church every single Wednesday at his home. And then the Sunday, all day, it was an all day thing every Sunday. Well, anyway, I met this really cute boy, Ryan, and he was 14, I'm 13. And, what's interesting is that they can, as hard as they tried, we had teenage breakaway during the Sunday, and it seems like Wednesday night or some other night too. We had this breakaway with teenagers, and they would push and push and push and push me hard. My uncle too, and these home studies on Wednesday night to be a Mormon. But I would not, man, I was staunch. why I believe what I believe, and no, it's this way, and no, at 13.
Wow.
And so they never got me. They didn't convince me a whit, not a whit. I was made up mind. So, okay, so you might see my point, guys. 13 years old. They couldn't, and I was there a whole summer. They could not get me, not even a budge. So see what I
You could beat
mean?
her. You could beat her and she'd say, I'm being persecuted for righteousness.
Probably, probably.
So
But
I
I
said,
didn't buy it. I didn't buy one hoot of it. Not one hoot of it. Not one hoot of their belief system. Not one. Why? See what I mean by the made up mind? So there's only one way. It's love. There's
that's
only
right.
one way.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's why we wanted to share this with you today in the beginning of the new year. You might have some relatives that are thinking about coming out, right? The organization seems to be breaking down.
Uh-huh.
It's losing its infrastructure because, see, in order to stay brainwashed, as Angela knows, and we know, in order to stay brainwashed, you have to have an environment that keeps you engaged. You've heard they keep you up late, they wake you up early, they keep you up
Oh,
late.
yeah, that's a
And,
brainwashing
they're
technique.
always right. That's what Watchtower was. They were always, it was meetings, service, commenting at meetings, your talk, meeting, service, conventions, meeting, service, conventions.
Preparing for the
Now
different
it's
things.
videos.
Prepare for Sunday, prepare for the Friday night Bible, whatever it was. They had to prepare for the talks they gave.
Suit and
Yeah.
tie, hair
Oh my
comb.
gosh. Yeah.
And so those structures of control are breaking down, right?
Yeah.
The structures are like, I'm turning time, huh? The meetings are lessened, huh? Well, we don't have a Bible study, huh? Or we have an abbreviated Bible study, abbreviated Watchtower, abbreviated talk,
Shorter magazines.
Yeah, shorter magazines. Now you're not seeing as many speakers at the conventions. It's
Or even new
videos.
literature either. You're
New
not seeing
literature
that.
either.
Hardly any of it.
Yes. And so it's all video. So it's kind of like there might be a great opportunity to share some love with these people. There might be something, a card you could send them. There might be some way. Look for ways. Ask for God to show you ways
Yeah.
of being able to show them some love, somehow, some way, a little gesture, not real big, just a little gesture that says, I love you.
Maybe
And-
even a kind of a gentle, steady stream of it.
Yes.
Just go by the Spirit.
Yeah.
Each person's
Buy them some movie
different.
passes,
Oh,
$15.
great idea.
Go buy them a dinner for two.
Right, like right after Christmas or
Yeah.
year or something.
Get them a dinner for two at an Italian restaurant. Spend $50. I'm just telling you, and I'm saying they have to be open. I'm not saying the staunch Jehovah's Witness that's just hate your guts. You don't want to go there. You don't go there with him. But there's people out there, guys. All of them. We know for sure that all of them are starving. The organization is not based on love. The organization is based on fear. And fear is not love. And so we know absolutely that lovingness, kindness, goodness, that these fruits, if we'll show these fruits to them, if we'll remind them who they are, you're not a religion. You're made in God's image, right? And we love them. It somehow reminds them of who they are.
But don't preach.
Don't preach. It made me come back to humanness. When I saw those kids, they didn't do nothing. I didn't need $1. I didn't need $3. But when they did that, it was the gesture of 3 kids giving me $1 that, I was preaching to that didn't want anything from me. It messed with my head. The perfume messed with Angela's brainwashing, right? Her head. This is where
It was not the perfume so much as it was the unconditional
Yeah.
love that she would be so
but
kind.
it was a pretty nice gift, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't about
No, it wasn't
that.
that?
It wasn't about that at all.
Okay.
It was about the fact that it was the gesture itself that I deserved a present, in spite of the fact that I screwed up 2 Christmases, and she snuck away to give me a present that who doesn't want a present? See, it didn't really matter what the present
I
was.
gotcha.
It could have been.
see.
It could have been.
Could have been anything. Pair of socks.
Right. But it was the gesture of love when I didn't deserve it. That was the unconditional love of God through her to me when I didn't deserve it.
I see.
That's
Yeah.
what got me.
Yeah.
Because it didn't make sense to my mind. My mother had always loved me when and if you do exactly as I say. And if you don't do what I say, you break any of the laws, or you don't obey me or anything such thing, you are not loved. You're only loved when and if you're doing exactly. And that's the same with my church too. We love you when and if you're obeying everything we say. And if you dare not, you are not loved. So it's very conditional. And they're
Yes.
watching you. Same with your Jehovah's Witnesses. They're watching you like a hawk, you
Yes.
know? And yuck. I mean, as you know, you guys, I went to this father and son of the Worldwide Church of God broke up finally after many, many breakups, truthfully be told. But finally they really broke up, and the son started a whole nother church, and he came to Denver after a couple years after this breakup. And we heard the rumor he's going to be at I think it was a Radisson Hotel in Thornton, Colorado. And I'm like, yeah. I went, my mom's like, we're going, I want to go. I'm like, yeah, I do too. And I had a 6-month-old baby. So I went to this meeting, and they marked down every person that attended. And then promptly we heard the news, we are all excommunicated because we dared to try to give a fair shot to the other side of the story. It made sense to us that you should do that. You should always hear both sides of the story. It made sense, but boy, they weren't going to have anything of it. They didn't ask. I never was counseled. I never received a phone call. I simply was informed by my mother that every single one of us who attended were excommunicated. And so I'm like, okay, fine. I do not believe God operates like that. And I am not going to tolerate that. And I was really mad because I've been very, very involved. I had no other friends outside of that church. And that was my whole life. And I was very involved, to say the least. And so I sang there. I was a cheerleader in there. I traveled there as a youth leader, traveled, all over the United States and then all of a sudden, boom, no one can talk to you. Just like that. Just because you chose to have a little differing way of deciding to deal with things. We didn't go ask. We didn't feel the need to ask. We just went to this meeting and we're excommunicated. So I'm like, no, that's not the love of God. God would never do such a thing. And that
There's that
me.
prison camp. We saw you in there, and now we're getting rid of you.
Yeah, it's not love of God. There's no love of God. There's no meeting with you to try to figure out what's going on in your head or make sure you're not going to, that they didn't mess with your head too bad and just give the other side of the story or anything else like that. Just, you're out. And guess what? We're never going to love you again. And guess what? No one's going to talk to you again. And if they see you in the grocery store, they're going to turn their head. And they did. You're out. And I'm like, no, that's not God. And then and that was hard, Dan, because it actually, it was before that happened to me is when I ruined that second Christmas and when I got the child. So it was 6 months. So I'm going to have my baby in January. And then in about June, July is when that happened. And I got excommunicated. So do you see, I already saw the love of God
gotcha.
from my mother-in-law. And then 6 months later, I'm excommunicated. So I'm like, that's not the love of God. That's very conditional. You do something we don't like and you're out. After all those years, I grew up in there, youth representative of my Denver, Colorado, 600 group people, many teenagers, huge, big deal. And you're out. No, I'm sorry. That's not God. So yeah, these things change you and they should change you. You should think about that.
So in a sense, what Angela's saying, the fields are ripe for the harvest. You know what I mean? I I don't think there's anything left in the witnesses. The whole thing that held it together was the care to paradise tomorrow, and they're not preaching that anymore. Now you're going to end up in the FEMA camps. So that's gone. So many things are gone now. So many disillusionments. So if we've got that love in us, maybe we can share some of that love when the time is right. I know me and Angela have had witnesses come to our door, and we just looked at them in the eyes and said, "Do you like this?
Yeah, we
Are you happy?" And they're like, one man looked at us in the eye and goes, "No, I'm not happy at all." And that was
you like doing this? No. He said no.
And he was totally miserable.
We gave him cookies. We gave him
cookies. And so God knows what happened to him. Yeah. But the fields are ripe for us to come in.
Oh, and he didn't tell me he's the next Jehovah's Witness. I don't think he did.
No. So there's a great opportunity for them and for us. And, it's like we can't resent them. We know they were under brainwashing like we were, right? The governing body now, we can be angry at them, because they continue on with this nonsense. They won't repent. But as far as those that are coming out, I think there's a huge disillusionment going right now. So we can offer that love that'll, mess with their head, right? What is that, right? And maybe possibly help them to rethink where they're at, what they're doing, so that they can maybe come out.
Yeah, maybe Tony Morse will come out.
Yeah.
He sort of kicked out himself, kind of like I was in real life. Yeah. He might just change his mind and he might realize the mistakes.
Yep. So guys, that's all we wanted to say. We just wanted to bring this out. You know, it's a new year and we think lots is happening in the Watchtower. There's a lot of new things. There's a lot of adjustments that a lot of the older people cannot make. They can't make these transitions. And if we just let them know, hey, we understand, man. I was in there with you. I understood the fear, the shame, the guilt. I was under all the same stuff. And don't worry about it, man. We love you. We love you. Come on out. Come on out. We're here for you. And that could be the beginning of some amazing things. So anyway, we wanted to share that. That is experiential. That's real. That did happen to me. That did happen to Angela. And it's happened to other people. And that one main lady was an incredible testimony.
And we've got other stories coming out too, but they're not as quite as wonderful as that story. But there are many other stories of people saying that I watched your videos forever and now I'm out. I just want you to know I'm out. And by the way, yeah, just like you said, my wife left me right away. And so I was prepared, you know, shocked still, but prepared. And, you know, started making new friendships right away, knowing that, yeah, that's how it's going to go. So when you guys share your stories and you share your videos, you do what you do, you're helping to prepare for what might happen. And it's good for them to know a little bit ahead of time, not just be shocked by the result of you're suddenly excommunicated or suddenly disfellowshipped, is how you guys say it. It doesn't have to be quite that severe if we could just help out our brother to be prepared for such things and not just to not be prepared with a plan and action on how to leave, because you don't just want to go share your story with your mate. You need to prepare very much with friends on the outside before you do such things, or it will be very painful. So anyway, we got some videos about that, by the way. We're going to kind of put it together in a better way so that you'll know that they're out there on how to leave properly.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
To think about what you're doing before you do it, because
Mhm.
you may not realize, but when they cut you off, they cut you off.
Yeah. And Dan has a kind of a tan suit coat in those videos from us, I don't know, 3 years ago. If you see anything like that, those kind of tan suit coat, that's the ones. And you might want to just check those out because they're powerful, helpful.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, we want to wish you guys a great year ahead.
yes.
2004, you know,
24.
We're wishing it's your best year ever. We're hoping it's our best year ever. We're going to try to make it our best year ever.
Mhm.
And we're going to keep bringing out these videos, different perspectives, things to think about, different angles. We're going to do one on alcoholism within the Watchtower. It's a massive problem. And I'm just tired, so tired of nobody speaking to it, nobody talking about it, everybody just turning his shoulder, you know, and the witnesses, it was just like, oh, we just got a buzz. Oh, we just, you know, we're just feeling good. But guys, I'm tired of watching people go down the tubes. And I think we need to share with each other what we know. I was an alcoholic. I drank for 40 years. And so I can share my tools on how I was able to get free and how I was able to get that poison out of my system. I'm not saying it's poison for everybody, but it was poison for me. But we're going to do a talk on alcoholism.
And maybe what, you know, I realized it wasn't 40 years because you didn't start drinking until you were 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't quite
it
that.
was 40 when I quit drinking, right?
You were 40 to 45.
Yeah,
in there.
yeah, that's when I quit.
Kind of quit. It wasn't just quit and that was the end of it. It was kind of stop, start a little bit, just a little bit.
And I haven't drank now for about 18 years, 19 years. 18. So anyway, I want to share some of that because I'm watching so many brothers just you know, sloppy drunks, and it's sad to see them in that condition, and they'll deny it. I mean, if you tell them or try to suggest to them, they'll tell you to go away, go to hell. But I just want to tell you, we're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about it.
All right, guys, that's it. Thank you
right.
so much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
2024. And we look forward to seeing you on the next video. We're going
Yay.
to have lots more coming this year. We're going to just keep them coming.
Yes, we got a surprise for you next.
Yes.
Next video is going to be surprising what we're going to be doing for you, for folks. We're excited about it.
Yes.
All right. So
May
watch
the
for
truth
next
set you free.
video.
May the
Amen.
truth set you free, guys.
Amen.
Okay.
Bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.